Hello and welcome to my video review of the Xbox 360 version of Tales of Vesperia. Tales of Vesperia is an RPG game of the Tales franchise, one of which sadly doesn't make it to UK shores and suffers from lackluster sales when it does. Arguably, one of the best games of the Nintendo GameCube was Tales of Symphonia, for example, but it would be safe to assume that half of the 10 remaining GameCube owners out there haven't heard of the franchise. For those who are new to the Tales franchise, the game's strongest selling point is the battle system, which allows players to control their character directly, moving them around the battlefields and attacking in real time. This means that fights can be won with use of superior tactics and knowing your character instead of just brute force and over-leveling. Standard attacks are mapped to B, special attacks or arts are mapped to A, and block is mapped to X. The in-game menu can be opened by hitting Y, allowing you to use items or change equipment. All the while, the computer will control the remaining 3 other characters allowed in a party at one time. Tactics for the AI are customizable through the in-game menu. The game does combat well, with a large variety of attacks, huge combos and great animation throughout. The incentive to fight well is grade, points which can be spent on your next playthrough for extras, such as 10 times experience for reaching max level, or half experience for a low level run. You can also spend grade to carry over money, skills and arts from your previous save. Like the rest of the Tales franchise, Vesperia in a sense leaves the amount of enemy encounters up to you. As you run around on the world map or in a dungeon, the monsters are moving around too. Moving into line of sight attracts the monsters towards you, leading to an encounter. These encounters can be in favour of one side, by the player party stunning the monster before fighting begins, or the monsters getting a jump on the player party. You can also link encounters by attracting 2 groups of monsters on the map at once, or starting a fight in close proximity to multiple groups. For returning players, Vesperia has inherited many of the features from the previous games in the series, such as cooking and the elusive Wonder Chef, and the arena. Titles are in, with new costumes attached to some of them. In addition to the titles, visual accessories can be equipped to your characters in the form of attachments. Arguably, the most important part of any RPG is the story and the characters. The story in brief is Empire rules much of the world, Princess leaves on an adventure with you, monsters breaking through protective barriers and attacking towns, enigmatic white-haired guy, betrayal, honour, right and wrong, all that stuff. While the story is quite similar to that of previous games in the franchise and other Japanese RPGs, it's still compelling enough to keep you playing to see if these things go ahead as planned or what plot twist is around the corner. There are also side quests to do which can almost double the length of the game if chased down. But Vesperia truly shines in its selection of characters. Be it the slick main character Yuri, or the naive noble Estelle, or the suspicious and humorous Raven, these characters are literally full of life. Whether it's the way they interact in the optional skits, idle banter between characters while travelling, or the way that each character deals with success and failure, or how the characters interact with each other after winning a fight, Vesperia makes sure that each character is unique and is adjusting to their adventure as the game carries on. It's one of those rare moments in JRPGs where I actually don't hate someone in my party. Ladle on hours of crisp English voice acting to support these unique characters, and soon enough you'll find yourself laughing along with the characters and concerned for their safety. Another great part of Tales of Vesperia is the visuals. Clean and colourful cel shading with great animation is used, and it's among some of the best I've seen. Arts and spells are just as huge as you could hope, such as the screen-filling tidal wave. The large range of environments such as the sweltering desert, abandoned ruins or frozen plains are also done very well. Towns are small enough to minimise the downtime but contain enough to be interesting and worth visiting. Most cutscenes are done with the in-game engine, but some particularly dramatic parts are done in a great anime styling.
No one can escape its doom.
Not to be outdone by the visuals, the sound is beyond expectations too, with moving music and realistic sound effects as well as the aforementioned quality voice acting.
It seems in the end that I was the greatest fool of all.
But like every game, Tales of Vesperia has a few problems. Most battles can be won by simply mashing the standard melee attack button with an R. Only the bosses and Giganto monsters really provide any challenge. The story can feel a tad meandering, although the characters at one point even notice this quite amusingly. There'll be many hours into the game before you feel like you've actually accomplished anything, because some aspects are so dragged out. Skits are unfortunately bland visually, but make up for this by being fully voiced, a treat considering just how many there are. Tales of Vesperia's problem is the feeling of doing it all before. The spells, the story, the bad guys, the twists, and the place you visit. You can relate nearly every single one of these things to a game you've played before. To its defense, Vesperia does all of these things much better than its rivals. I also found that the game really gave no clues regarding side quests, meaning that many of them will go missed on a first playthrough or without the use of a guide. In conclusion, Tales of Vesperia is one of those games any RPG fan has to play. It's flawed in that it doesn't do anything particularly new, but with a combat system making each fight a joy, beautifully designed characters and absorbing visuals and sound, who cares? I give the game an 86% score and a buy rating. The main story lasts about 30 hours. There's about 30 hours worth of side quests, and there's the EX new game and grade shop for added features in your next playthrough. Thank you for listening. This is Metal Dragon with my video review of the Xbox 360 version of Tales of Vesperia.